Good morning. Welcome to the GB Visual Art channel. This is going to be a how-to video simplifying oil painting with simplified methods, materials, and we're going to eliminate thinners. It's a good idea. So the first thing, I don't even use a cup. I would just get a wax crayon or a China marker and make a nice circle. And pour the linseed oil in the circle. Make sure your table's level. If you do, then you'll be all set. And it'll stay right there. Move it in the sun a little bit. So I recommend a glass palette. Make sure that like I said, the table's level. Tape it to some cardboard, and you're gonna want a paint scraper, razor blade holder, a steel palette knife, your brushes, and this is my best friend, toilet paper. You want to do all your mixing here, and even in fact with the masters, I know I think Sargent, for example, they all use these huge wooden pallets. I'm not really sure why they did that. Maybe it was because the glass wasn't flat, or it just wasn't machined well enough. But today, it really is the best way to just mix everything here. And I believe Sargent even would mix prior to loading it on his wooden pallet. So I don't recommend using a wooden pallet. Get yourself a steel palette knife and go over the brushes. I typically use a large flat. There's 3 different shapes, or 4. So there's a flat, and there's also a similar size called a bright. It's a shorter flat. I don't know why they make those, because what happens is the paint eventually travels down to the ferrule and it just splays out. So flats live longer than brights. I don't know why they do that, but they do. The other shape would be a similar flat, but a rounded, this is called a filbert. And you can see how I'm kind of going from a large, this is like my basic, this is primarily what I do to lay down the color. Then when you get into some details, you can use a synthetic or something similar. The hog bristle is what you want to do. Everything else is going to be too soft, really, for pushing oil paint around, unless it's thinned. And then there's a round, which is good for details. And again, this is another synthetic. Because there's no thinner involved, the fibers tend to last a little bit longer. You don't need to use thinner, like I said. You can literally use dishwashing liquid. So it's wipe the excess off the brush with toilet paper, and just use liquid dishwashing soap. It works great, and goes from there. So steel palette knife, razor blade holder, toilet paper. Linseed oil takes about 18-20 hours to dry, depending on humidity, maybe even a little bit longer. So what happens is the oil paint travels. You're like constantly looking at your hands when you're in the throes of it. It will go from your hands to your clothes to God knows where else. So just be aware of that. And I've also simplified my color palette. So, and I'm going to put a description of these pigments and their their color code in the description. But essentially this is really all that I need to paint from observation, anything, whether it's outside or whether it's from a photograph. These colors will get you everything you need. I recommend spending the money on some decent paint that at least has, I mean, you can get student grade paint and it has basically the pigment, such as cadmium, and then it would have some filler in it to make it a little cheaper. But the point is to stick with particular pigments. Starter sets usually come with a phthalo, which I don't recommend. So you're not going to find that phthalo is going to gray down as well as the other colors like Ultramarine, Cerulean Blue, and Cobalt Blue. So all of these colors will gray down, with the exception of, I have a Quinacridone in here. But basically, avoid the starter sets with phthalo. Phthalo is not going to help you. It's not going to achieve especially if you're painting a landscape, it's just not going to grade down and give you what you look for. So spend the money, steel palette knife, and particular pigment. So we have the umbers, Ivory Black, raw umber, burnt umber, raw sienna, yellow ochre, cadmium yellow, cadmium orange, cadmium red. This is Quinacridone Magenta, which I like a lot, and again, that's one of the exceptions. It is a modern pigment. Quinacridones tend to stay vibrant. Ultramarine Blue, and I believe this is Cobalt Blue. Cerulean Blue is really great for sky, so it's just a really strong, good color that will get you where you want to go for sky. This is Manganese Blue, which I love. You'll see on the intro, there's a reflection of the sky on my palette. Now, the camera tends to pick up Manganese Blue, which is really interesting. It is a very, very transparent color. It's a weak color, so it will break down pretty quickly when you add white to it. This is Turquoise Blue, which I like a lot. This is Cadmium Green, and the really important landscape green is Chromium Oxide. I prefer it. It's a very strong color. You don't need a lot, but that is where you want to go. And titanium white. I want to give a shout out to the unknown chemists that have created these colors in the 1800s. If it wasn't for them, we would still be painting off colors. So just a really early paintings, medieval, just not getting there at all. So 1800s, then, Impressionism came along, realism, and it's all because these colors gray down. So keep an eye out, look for these type of pigments. That's really all you need. You're gonna see that there's gonna be a ton of color options with paint companies. But this is all you're going to need painting from observation. And speaking of that, what you want to do is have your light source the same as what's on your subject matter as best you can. So if you're outside, you're going to want to have the sun over your shoulder and falling on the same subject matter that you're painting. And this is where I really recommend painting, mixing with the palette knife, because you can literally mix up the color and compare it. So if the light is over your shoulder, it's the same light that's on your subject matter, you can easily and precisely mix color and then go back and adjust accordingly. And so same thing with the photograph. As long as the light source is behind you, you have usually have my photo here and then the canvas. And so in regard to the canvas, a pre-stretched canvas works fine. I would recommend to add another layer of gesso on it, which is the primer. Gessos come in white, black, and clear, which I think is interesting. It's a polymer emulsion. You can put oil on top of polymer or plastic. You can't go the other way around. But it makes for an excellent substrate. It's pretty much dominated the grounds that people use. So I would recommend get a pre-stretched if you want, or stretch your own. I'll probably have a video on stretching in another video. Put gesso on it and then let it dry and then sand it so it's nice and smooth. You're going to find that the paint is just going to flow a lot better. And here's actually a painting that I did, and it's mainly Sienna and Umber, but you can see there's a little bit of quinacridone in here. Quinacridones come in magentas, they come in earth colors as well. But it's a pretty cool pigment to mix with the earth tones. Wow, if you've made it this far, thanks for watching. Sorry about the sunspots on my face. I went right through the blinds, but I didn't catch that. But it's the first video, and this is about, starting out, so please leave any comments that you have or questions. I know it was a brief video, but anyway, I'd love to hear what you have to say, and it'll help me guide this channel if it becomes one. So yeah, let me know what you think, and thanks for watching. Appreciate that.